Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Patrick Liu, and I'm going to be your host for the Diabetes Survival Guide show. I'm the founder of the Diabetes Management Group, where I am a fitness and wellness coach for people with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. And this show will be a way to share the phenomenal stories about people with all forms of diabetes, healthcare professionals who work with people with diabetes, health and wellness coaches who work with people in this population, and or caregivers and relatives with people with diabetes across the world. A little bit of a personal background for me as a show starter is I was diagnosed with prediabetes back in 2021 and made some modifications to my lifestyle and habits to successfully reverse it in 2022. However, that onset of me receiving prediabetes in 2021 triggered my memories of when my grandpa, who passed away when I was a sophomore in high school from kidney failure secondary to his type 2 diabetes, about the care that was misunderstood and not the greatest at that time. So I want to provide this show as a way to explore the different spectrums of diabetes and healthcare professionals sharing their tips of what they've seen helpful in working with folks with them, and then some things that weren't as helpful so that y'all can learn something. So thank you so much, and we'll get started with the disclaimers and the show.
Disclaimers. This show is not medical advice or a treatment plan and may contain sensitive and explicit content. It is intended for general education and demonstration purposes only. This content should not be used to self diagnose or self treat any health, medical, or physical conditions. Don't use this show to avoid going to your own healthcare professional or to replace the advice they give you. Consult with your healthcare provider before attempting anything you learned in this show. You agreed to identify and hold harmless the creators of this material for any and all losses, injury, or damages resulting from any and all claims that arise from your use or misuse of this show material. The creators and guests of this show make no representations about the accuracy or suitability of this content. Use these materials at your sole risk. Views and opinions are individual to the creators and guests of this show and do not represent any other opinions or entities and are not intended to offend anybody. We hope you enjoy the show. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Diabetes Survival Guide show. Today, I am joined by the lovely and the amazing Michelle Daniel. So, Michelle, if you don't know her, you're about to know how awesome she is. She is a holistic health practitioner. She's also a nurse and does a phenomenal job in ensuring that her clients understand how they can improve their health, taking it to that next level, and being sustainable with it. She's helped a variety of women feel very empowered doing yoga retreats and having that mental reset and feeling like they are the bosses of their life again. And it's really powerful because for people who are in that troublesome spot or in that pickle where their mental health is in a funk and they aren't quite sure what to do, having that clarity will really help benefit not only their mental health, but it's also going to help with their physical health. And I'm sure Michelle is going to share her experiences too, because I don't want to take too much of her story to share. So without further ado, Michelle, if you wouldn't mind telling us about yourself and your journey with the lifestyle technique that I haven't shared, please feel free to do.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I always appreciate collaborating with other healthcare professionals such as yourself. It truly takes a team to help our communities. So, how I got started was I was a former trauma nurse and I had young children, married, busy life, long hours, lots of stress that comes with being a trauma nurse. And I felt like I was in survival mode. Didn't quite have a name to that at the time, but now it was definitely a survival mode. I felt awful. I was horribly tired, where a lot of the evenings my husband would say, "Why are you so tired?" or ask, "Why are you so tired?" And I just chalked it up to being a mom of three and trauma nurse and busy lifestyle and stress and things like that. I had horrible brain fog. I was gaining weight. With all of that, I had low confidence and I just really just wasn't quite happy where I was. And so I had a group of friends that we decided that we wanted to do something just to help make ourselves feel better. And I actually jumped on a 10-day cleanse and working on the gut health. When I did that 10-day cleanse, I really started to improve my nutrition and I was cleaning up my gut health and all drinking more water, and I was being more intentional. And so when I started to feel really good and my energy started to lift, I really thought, wow, there is something to this. And so then I got on a longer regimen, and it was 30 days. After that 30 days, I was getting into good habits. I was meal prepping. I was feeding my mind with good information, good positivity, affirmations and mantras and all of that. I started sleeping better and waking up feeling more refreshed. And so when I got to the point where I started to notice how impactful this was in my own life, and really it was within that 30 days, it was pretty life changing for me, where I felt like I was more of a energetic mom, more hands-on or happier. And I started to go into work on the trauma unit and just started to see all of my patients, all their medical history, a lot of that was preventable. And what was being brought on was these chronic diseases such as cancer and high blood pressure and diabetes and hypothyroidism, which I have. And that's why I was suffering so much. And I just started seeing all these chronic conditions and diseases. And it was all brought on by diet and lifestyle, and I knew it, and I could see all the staff, doctors and nurses, and everyone running around crazy. I just knew that I had good solutions on my hand. And so I stayed bedside. I was trying to do both holistic help and maintain that acute health. And I just had this burning within me where I just wanted to go out and help people. And the more that I pushed what I could do down a little bit, and it just started to burn even more. So I got to a point where I just had too much to offer, and there's too many people that need help out there. So I decided to start my own business. I became a holistic practitioner. I went through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I have that nursing degree. I also became a 500-hour advanced yoga instructor where I incorporate stress management, mindfulness, breath work, stress management techniques. And if we think about where a lot of our behaviors begin, it's because we're stressed. And so until I can go in and help my clientele with that stress management, there it's going to be the hamster wheel of going back to our old habits. So that's basically how I got started. Is I really started with my own journey, changed my whole life. It's rippled to helping my family and friends and others, and it's just been pretty darn amazing.
Wow, amazing. Every time I hear that story, it gets me chills because it went from the crazy, chaotic mess of life as a nurse to figuring out, hey, I got to take care of myself because we're a sinking ship over here. And once you're able to patch up your own holes and get back into it, you realize, crap, there's a lot of things that are going on, and this hectic and crazy environment, it's adding to fuel to the fire, and it's a sick care model rather than let's actually focus on getting out of that sick care model to focus on how can we control the controllables and make it sustainable and keep it that way versus, oh, you're sick, let's put you in the system and then let's get you back out. So whatever things that you had, they didn't talk about it for a let's learn how to manage it. Instead, it's a everything went to a crapshoot. So then let's glue it back together and put you back out there without learning that no, we need to reorder things in order to make it beneficial and make it so that it's not going to be disrupted again. So very great. And also adding to your skills and repertoires to really understand how you can serve and help others. And the next question that I wanted to ask, it would be, what has been your experience working with people with diabetes? And I'm sure our audience is wondering, oh, what forms of diabetes, like type 1, type 2, LADA, all the whole slew of it? I'm sure they're all curious to know.
Yes. Oh, on the trauma unit, I have worked with all types of diabetes. And really, what is being more classified would be more of the type 1 and type 2 diabetes, is what we would see in the hospital. And I think the Lauda, that is not the one that we would typically see, but the way that it was managed, it was either with the insulin or on a diabetic diet through our food services. And so when I took care of both. And so what I saw with uh our patients on the trauma unit is that a lot of people, they came in from car accidents, they came in from traumas or any sort of injuries. And then we can have other types of chronic or acute issues that are going on with the body, illnesses. And so when we have this response in our body, our inflammatory response, stress response, that is going to spike a lot of our blood sugars, right? We can go in, and that's how we would manage our patients. We would give them medication, their metformin. Sometimes we put them on a sliding scale to help better manage their blood sugar levels. And so that's really how we would manage. But really getting down to the nitty gritty, now, if I were to have a family member or someone that I really knew, one, I know that it's stress. If we can help manage stress within the hospital setting, which isn't always easy, one, because you're not sleeping well, there's not things that your diet's being monitored, which can be a good thing, right? We want you to eat good, healthy meals within the hospital so your body can heal. You're getting your medication. We're helping fill in those gaps. But if we can help outside, let's look at your sleep. Let's look at your stress management. Can we use breath work techniques? Can we use meditation? Are there ways that we can help slow down that stress response in the body? And looking at it holistically now, there's other ways that we could go in and help our patients. But there's ways that through medication that can be helpful, especially if we're getting these big spikes in the blood sugars, glucose levels. But I think that now I would have taken care of my patients differently, being educated.
Hmm. And I think the education proponent is so huge as there's a lot more research that's being published out there saying, hey, controlled breath work, doing a meditation, and doing it before sleep, improving the quality of sleep. Because if we think about it, by being able to control the stress, we're able to decrease the amount of stress hormones that's causing those blood sugars to spike up, as well as reducing the other neurohormones such as dopamine, such as the serotonin, into a balanced level to help our blood sugars also return back to a balanced level. Or if it's a bit low, then figuring out how can we get it back up into those good ranges and ensuring that we are in full control of it. And it comes down to solid breath work, getting that focus back and moving forward with it. And that controlled meditation too, that also does a huge impact as well from the experiences that I've heard from my clients, Michelle's clients and patients, and I'm sure from other people who's benefited from the materials that are out there. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and that can also, just because I worked with trauma patients, but that also helps with pain control. And that also helps if we can keep the cortisol levels, if we can decrease those, that'll actually help with the inflammatory responses. People will be able to heal more and quicker. And so that's really what we're wanting to help support someone that may not heal quickly and that may need that extra support during that process.
Hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing too.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. And before we continue with the rest of this show, I wanted to let y'all know, please feel free to give this podcast a 5-star rating if you like it, share it with other folks that you think it'd be beneficial for. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and follow to the Diabetes Management Group for awesome tips to manage your type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. And let's get back to the show.
I get now that makes me curious to know what has been the most wild case that you've seen during your time as a trauma nurse and what were the key takeaway moments from that experience?
Oh gosh. Some of them I can't even talk about. I've seen so much between motorcycle accidents to car accidents to spinal cord injuries to horse accidents to people falling out of trees or cutting tree limbs or falling off of a roof or assaults and gunshot wounds and everything in between. I've seen it all. And my biggest takeaway is that I think that a good mindset helps people get through these situations. I think a mindset can change a horrible situation. And it can either, depending on our mindset, it can be, thank goodness I'm still here, to, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened to me. And we go through different stages. Not to say that, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened to me, like a shock. That's not bad. I don't want to say that, because we can have grief through different periods of traumatic experiences and how my life was before and how it is now. I think a mindset is key during a stressful situation. And those ebb and flow. And we can have times where it's, oh my gosh, I feel very thankful. And then we have these lows where it's, oh my gosh, it kind of sinks in. And then we get, back up to, oh my gosh, I feel very thankful that it couldn't have been worse. Or it it's not linear in our growth process and our mindset all the
Hmm.
time.
It's always the whole up and down, and it's a cycle. It's just filtering in
Yes.
those different parts and being able to understand that, hey, even though this is a difficult journey and this is a difficult time, it's okay to let those emotions come through, as you mentioned. And it's also, there's comfort in knowing that we do have the choice in the mindset that we do have and acting out on it and being able to take one step forward. Even if it's a small little step, that's a step forward. And that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the next thing I want to ask too is, since starting your practice with the lifestyle technique, what has been the best experience that you've had with it with a client?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a loaded question because there are so many. I would say, let me think about that one for a second.
I ask the really good questions over here.
You do. I would say that I had a client that she had lost her husband and she's raising four kids by herself. And she decided to invest in herself, which she hadn't done in years. And she started to really put some work in on creating better habits for her. And as she's creating these good habits, dropping the ones that weren't serving her anymore, she had an amazing mindset shift. And so when she had that mindset shift, it just really changed her perspective on life. And she was able to process things a little bit differently, how she had been seeing them. And so I think that was pretty significant. She felt confident. She lost weight. She felt confident in her own skin. She decided to start making some pretty significant change in her life that continued to affect her overall health and wellness and mentality. And so she is doing an amazing job, and I can still see it over the years that she has maintained what she had learned for herself. So that was pretty great.
Awesome. If you were to describe the perspective shift that your client has had into an analogy, what would that be? So if you were to describe the mindset shift of your client as an analogy, what would that be for those who are having struggles understanding, oh, what does that essentially look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? Just to capture the audience of what that transition looks like.
Yes. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is that two parts. One, if we can see that there is an uphill battle, we know what we're up against. So, first, we have to see it, we have to be
Hmm.
aware of what's ahead. And so then the mindset shift is, and I love this quote, and it's, the task ahead of you is not greater than the strength within you. And so it's that connection with yourself. It's that connection of your internal strength and your internal wisdom, which you have always had. And so when people can reconnect with that, and by getting rid of some of those layers, which we have built up, and we start to peel them away layer by layer, that is the mindset shift. And it happens so organically that people aren't even realizing that it's happening. So if you think about an onion, and we start peeling away the different layers, and we get to that to the core of the heart, and we start getting in there deeper, that is where we hold our wisdom, that's where we hold our insightfulness, that's where we hold our strength. And that has always been in there. We just have to get to that layer.
And just like an onion, peeling back those layers, there might be some tears. Or if you're not a human and you're just a complete robot where you're able to do that without crying, then kudos to you for getting closer in until you are able to get to that core.
Yeah.
Very empowering, especially with understanding that we have the power to overcome anything. And no matter what we see that's in front of us, it may look daunting, but in reality, if we look inwards, we have the power to overcome anything. Like that steep hill is going to look like a slight incline, and that's it. And it's just a matter of keeping our head up and moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I have a couple more questions. If you were to share one piece of advice with someone who says that they don't have enough time or enough money or enough energy or enough anything to invest into their health or investing into a wellness program, what would it be?
There would be a couple things that I think that people can invest in. One, it's just being mindful and intentional in doing so. One is hydration. We can always access good, clean water. It might just take bringing a water bottle with you. The second would be go for a walk. You can go through, if people want something a little bit more rigorous, do some jumping jacks, push-ups, squats, lunges. If those are things that you just could do 10 of each, and maybe do 1 round or 2 rounds or 3 rounds or a certain amount of time. And that is just something that would not invest in any money. People can also go on YouTube if they have access. They can even go to the library and look up videos or on free workouts. I would also invest in trying to get fruits and vegetables into your diet. Those are, I think that's hugely important. Fresh is always best. Frozen is flash freeze frozen food. That's the green beans or fruit vegetables or frozen fruits or whatever. That's flash frozen, so it's going to have all the nutrients in there still. And then lastly, if you do canned, I just try to go without any salt. So that's my those are would be my recommendations. I would look at your proteins, get some chicken. You can do all kinds of things with that, make a salad, or try to go with an oatmeal in the morning, gluten free, or add some chia seeds or some flax seeds or some walnuts or something like that. And there's great options out there. If there's an Aldi's around, they have great prices on, accessible food for a lot of people. And so it's just going to take learning to read some labels. If you can invest in learning how to read a label, I think that could be really good on overall nutrition. It doesn't cost anything to have a good bedtime routine. Go to bed at a certain time, learn to do a meditation or learn to do a breath work, or maybe go for a hike. Those are all ways that you can go into stress management techniques. So there's several ways if that people can lead healthier lifestyles. And there's a book by James Clear, it's called Atomic Habits. And if we can start making just 1% in different areas, 1% better than what we were, we are at the end of the year percent better than where we were. And I think that's pretty significant. But if we go the opposite way, we are negative 30%, 7% worse. So we have the choice of, do we want to get 37% better or 37% worse? I was just looking at making that small incremental changes built from that foundation.
Hmm. Powerful. Small little steps at a time, and YouTube University for free material to learn how to do some awesome things. All right. So the other question I want to ask, Michelle, is what is your zombie apocalypse survival plan?
Okay. So, one, I'm taking all my camping gear with me. I'm going to go camping. I'm going to make a garden and I'm going to grow everything. That's what I'm going to do.
Take the family, get all the camp supplies, and find a secluded area where you're able to be hidden, right?
Yeah. My husband and my son, they love to fish, so I guess we would go fishing, I guess. Yes.
There's the protein.
Right.
All right.
So,
Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. And it has been an absolute pleasure having you on here in the show, Michelle. I'm sure everyone who's listening and watching this, they want to know how can they find you?
yeah, a couple ways. I am on social media. On Facebook, I'm the Lifestyle Technique LLC. On Instagram, I'm at the underscore lifestyle underscore technique. And then you can also look up my website. It's www.thelifestyletechnique.com. So those are a couple ways that you can get a hold of me. I'm more active on social media than anything, and I always have live events and ways to connect and ways that we can help you in your overall health and wellness.
And Michelle's seminars that she has, the workshops, the retreats that she does, very top notch. So whenever y'all are ready to look into that and check it out, she picks some awesome partnerships to do it with.
That's right.
All
Yes.
right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all so much for tuning in for this episode, and we're looking forward to see you for the next one. Do one small thing to improve your health each day.